I noticed a couple of previous times, and I kept saying this, but I wasn't doing anything about it. I was like, oh, yeah, we said this really cool thing. And I was like, oh, wait, that was in the intro before we actually started recording. So I'm going to record everything we say now.
Hey, that's what Frank Zappa did. And look at his catalog.
We were just saying that we were sans Braden, and he will probably not be joining us for the next couple of episodes. He has a jam-packed schedule, so...
Well, you know, when you're talented, everybody wants you. So
why do they want Braden? Just kidding. I love you, Braden, if you're listening. I'm just kidding. As we all know, you only listen at bedtime, though, so you probably won't hear this.
He's snoring already. God bless him.
So welcome to the 90s Rewind Report. My name is Michael Reagan, and I am joined again by Nathan Lane.
Hello, everyone.
As we just said, Braden will be returning. When we get him back, you'll be the first to know. Today, we're going to talk about SNICK, which was Saturday night favorite of most 90s kids. Mm-hmm. And I thought we would start off something with a little bit of fun with some trivia. I only have 5 questions, I think. I thought we would, again, have Braden, so it'll just be you answering them. But we're going to give it a go and see if how many you can get right. So I know the first one you're going to know. What was SNICK's mascot? Was it A, a bowl of popcorn, B, an orange couch, C, a red couch, or D, it had no mascot?
Oh, no, it wasn't just an orange couch. It was the big orange couch.
Orange couch. Yep, that's exactly what I had written, but I couldn't say that because I would give it away. Oh,
no, it's very precious in our family because my wife actually grew up in a household that had a big orange couch. So SNICK
would be
is
so
very
cool.
Precious.
What year did SNICK debut? A, 1989, B, 1990, C, 1991, or D, 1992?
See, I want to say it's earlier because it just seems like it was such an integral part of my childhood and just the main reason we got to stay up. But I know it was 1992.
That is correct. August 15th, 1992, to be exact.
I remember seeing that day and I was like, that can't be. Well, I guess that totally can be.
What was the original lineup that debuted on SNICK on August 15th, 1992? Was it A, The Secret World of Alex Mack, Roundhouse, Rugrats, and Are You Afraid of the Dark? B, Clarissa Explains It All That, All Real Monsters, Are You Afraid of the Dark? C, Clarissa Explains It All, Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Or is it D, Clarissa Explains It All, Roundhouse, Ren and Stimpy, and Are You Afraid of the Dark?
It was D.
Correct.
I actually got into a few debates over that because everybody has this weird lineup in their head. I don't know. It's almost as crazy as the TGIF lineup conspiracy.
I think I have a reason why people remember it differently, and that's because just like with TGIF, SNICK has a separate fall and spring lineup. So it depends on when they started watching SNICK or what their first memories really are from SNICK. Depending on if they were watching in the fall or the spring, the lineup would have been different. I think the only show that stays in common is Clarissa Explains It All.
Melissa Joan Hart holding it down.
Yep, just like she did with she dominated TGIF, she dominated SNICK, and now she's out there like producing movies and all sorts of stuff. So she's still kind of running the show, I think.
She's going to conquer the world one of these days.
Yep. So speaking of Clarissa and Melissa Joan Hart, on the show Clarissa Explains It All, starring Melissa Joan Hart, Clarissa had a baby pet alligator. Can you name that gator? Was it A, Franklin, B, Ferguson, C, Zelda, or D, Elvis?
Oh, it was totally Elvis.
That's correct. You've got all of them correct so far.
Telling you, it's my bread and butter.
I'm pretty sure you're going to get this one correct too because you were just talking about it a few minutes ago. This SNICK show, which ran from 1990 to 1996, was canceled after its original 5-season run, only to be resurrected for an additional 2 seasons beginning in 1999. Can you name that show? A, Ren and Stimpy, B, All That, C, Are You Afraid of the Dark, or D, Space Cases?
Oh, it is C. Are You Afraid of the Dark is so precious to me.
That's correct. It lasted a complete 5 seasons before being canceled by the network. It was then decided the show should be brought back with an entirely new cast, as you were saying earlier before we started recording, and they were going to try to recapture an audience. It ended up not being as successful as the first show, and again, it was canceled after a shorter 2 season run.
Yeah, once you let go of the lightning, it's hard to rebottle that booger, you know.
That is true. That is true. But just so we don't lose our lightning, I did say there was something that some misinformation we needed to talk about. We actually got an email, which was surprising to me because it was the first email we've ever gotten from a listener. We've had other people, or at least I have, friends and family be like, I listened to this episode and they would give input, but we've never had any input from a listener that was outside of our immediate friends and family. And I'll just read the email. He just says, I'm David from New Albany, Ohio, and I just wanted to drop you a quick note. I started listening to your podcast this month, and I just wrapped up the episode on the highest grossing horror films. Great stuff, by the way. His words, not mine.
Thank you.
There were a couple of quick points I thought I'd mention. Might not be a big deal, but I figured I'd reach out. When you were discussing Scream 4, one of you mentioned Kieran Culkin being part of the cast, but it's actually his brother, Rory Culkin. Also, someone noted that Randy's niece and nephew appeared in Scream 4, but they actually made their debut in the Scream reboot in 2020. Regardless, I think you all are doing an amazing job. I started listening after seeing that TikTok video about Beetlejuice toys. Those were actually Nathan's from his private collection.
Yes, it is.
And I've been hooked ever since. Your show really brings back so many memories and gives me that lovely 90s nostalgia. Keep up the fantastic work, and I'm looking forward to more episodes. Best, David G., Nostalgian, New Albany, Ohio. And he does end with a PS, so I'm really hoping you'll do some Nicktoons talk soon. That would be amazing.
And that is on the agenda, David. Don't you worry about that. Any comments, questions, and if you need to correct us, that's why we're here. We'll never know unless you correct us.
Now, I did go back and listen to that episode after we got that email, and I did say, yeah, it was Kieran. And yes, I did say, yeah, his niece and nephew are in Scream 4, I believe. But I was following the lead of Braden, who actually said those things first. And I am throwing him under the bus for 2 reasons. One, because it's factual. You can go back and listen to the episode. And 2, he's not here to defend himself, even if it weren't true. But it's true. We can go back and listen to it. But yeah, he says, wasn't Kieran Culkin in that? And I said, yeah, Kieran Culkin. So he led me.
That's not a crime.
He led me astray. And Nathan, you said last time when I sent you the email, you're like, I didn't think I had a dog in that fight. So I made sure to listen, and you were correct. You kept your mouth shut. You did not say a word. All you said actually is I've seen Scream 4, but I don't remember. I think you said you always fall asleep watching it, and you wake up at the ending not really knowing what's going on. You're like, this is the most meta thing ever. As I think that's what was all you said on the topic.
No, it was. I can't remember. I fall asleep at the oddest part because I'm like, oh, this is so interesting. I mean, it's like narcolepsy.
And also, I looked it up for us. Apparently, the niece and nephew, Braden had mentioned in that episode. He said, if Ghostface ever asks us who Randy's nieces and nephews were, we're not going to survive. And their names are Chad and Cindy Meeks. So, in case Ghostface calls and that's your question, thank you, David G. Actually, that was me who looked that one up. Thank you, David G., for bringing the other stuff to our attention, because I never would have started fact-checking everything else to make sure we were correct in that episode. So thank you.
You opened a fantastic can of worms, and we appreciate it.
We do not want to spread misinformation about the 90s, especially. So, yeah, if we ever say something wrong, don't be afraid to call us out. We're not going to be mean about it. We're just going to retract our comments like we just did and move on with our lives.
Yeah, we don't spaz on fact checks.
No. We'll dive right back into SNICK. Speaking of, we got through our question and answer, our trivia. So I'm going to start with the first lineup that happened in 1992. And that was at 8 p.m. You would have Clarissa Explains It All. At 8:30, you would have Roundhouse. At 9 p.m., you would have the Ren and Stimpy Show. And then at 9:30 p.m., you would have Are You Afraid of the Dark? Anyone
That's the
who's not,
classic lineup that I totally remember the most. Is
that's the one that I think I remember too. But for some reason, like you, I remember Roundhouse lasting for a while. I remember that being a couple of years, but it really wasn't. It was just that 1 year. But in case no one's ever seen Clarissa Explains It All, it was an American teen sitcom that was created by Mitchell Krogman for Nickelodeon. In the series, Clarissa Darling, played by Melissa Joan Hart, is a teenager who addresses the audience directly to explain the things that are happening in her life, dealing with typical adolescent concerns such as school, boys, pimples, wearing her first training bra, and an annoying younger brother named Ferguson.
way
Uh,
cool.
yeah, gnarly. A total of 65 episodes were produced and aired from March 23rd, 1991 to October 1st, 1994, with repeats airing until August 19th, 2001. From August 1992 onwards, the series headlined the popular SNICK Saturday Night Nickelodeon lineup. This was one of my favorite SNICK shows, was Clarissa Explains It All. I think that was my gateway into Melissa Joan Hart, as we like to say, gateway into other things. That's why I was probably so obsessed with Sabrina, because we were already in love with some Melissa Joan Hart at that point.
No, it's true. I mean, it really was like my first impression of just a girl with flair. Because it's like most of the people that I lived around, especially on the females. Because I mean, what were we, like 9?
Yeah,
7 to 9. So I don't know. I didn't know anybody that dressed like that. She was like a Punky Brewster for the '90s. Just
she,
style and flair, and that. I don't know. It was cool. She was establishing girl power for the tweens at that era.
that's very true. She also had a best friend named Sam, who would usually enter her home through her bedroom window. Now, as a kid, I thought nothing about this. As an adult, I'm like, her parents were okay with that?
I know, right? But I love Sam's intro. Like every time the ladder hit the window, you just hear, "Hi, Sam."
Oh yeah, I forgot about the sound effects. I forgot about that. Okay,
No,
yeah.
Sam was cool, and I love that he had like a roller derby mom and a sports reporter dad.
See, I forgot everything. This is why that tape that you found with some episodes, I think we should circulate that and watch it at some point and then
Oh
talk
no, we're
about the
totally gonna
episodes
do it.
on it.
I started
Because
looking it up because I was like, "What episodes are on here?" Because I couldn't even find the time to hook up my VCR to watch this VHS tape.
I
But
too have a VCR, but yeah, it's not hooked up either. So
because honestly, I mean, how many do you honestly own anymore? It's like they're all streaming. Why would I have crappy, quality VHS? Nostalgia. Now, one thing that Clarissa, there's certain things I had no idea what. Like her dad was the architect. There's like Marshall Darling,
I did remember that fact after you just said it.
but he always had like the greatest like architecture. Like he would have these 3D models that looked like hedge mazes that were houses and toilets, and that really brought up the idea. It's like, would I live in a weird house like that? And now I'm like actually subscribed to Facebook pages about weird houses like that.
All I remember about the parents is I remember that they ate a lot of soy. Was that
Nope.
what they ate? Or
Tofu.
tofu?
The
They
mom
loved.
cooked with nothing but tofu, and it made me never want to eat tofu.
Have you tried any of Braden's vegan meals?
No, he actually gave me a piece of tofu candy, and I immediately spit it out. I mean, much love for the people that enjoy tofu, but I can't do it. And I don't know if it's one of these things I've psyched up for 30 years. It's like, if you ever put tofu in your mouth, it will taste like raw poison.
You guys come for Christmas, you'll see this year. I always make sure I get him some vegan stuff. There were these all vegan dumplings that I bought one year that I made, and I ate one or two of those, and they were really good. But that's the only vegan thing I ever bit into where I was like, I could eat this, but I couldn't survive on just that. But I could eat that anyway. But yeah, you were talking about Clarissa earlier. You said that she was one of the first characters we saw female empowerment.
Yeah,
Um,
like, and that tween audience that was like really starting to bud in the early 90s.
Well, it's funny that you said that because Clarissa was credited with becoming the first Nickelodeon series to feature even a female lead, period. Clarissa was their first female lead ever on a Nickelodeon show. The success of Clarissa, that led the network to create other shows, Secret World of Alex Mack, and then The Amanda Show were both because of the success of Clarissa.
Now, I was like, you had the Clarissa, her mom and dad, and then Ferguson. I'm trying not to just straight up call him a turd, but
He was
that little Reaganite, you know,
he was a stereotypical annoying little brother.
and he was such a contrast to Clarissa's free spirit. Because he was
Yes.
just that button down, like sweater vest and blazer. Just he kind of reminded me of Alex P. Keaton, but if he could be like 1,000 times more annoying. Instead of a Reaganite, he was just up Dan Quayle's butt.
That's a fairly good comparison, actually. Let me say one more thing about Clarissa. So I forgot about this. You probably didn't because you're having a lot of memories. But unique to the show was Clarissa's tendency to tackle the episode's central theme through the creation of a fictional video game.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot
I
all
do
about
remember
that.
that.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, whatever she was facing at the time, she would create a video game. And what I thought was really cool wasn't that she was playing the game, it was the fact that she was able to create these characters from her own life in the game, which it was
Oh,
a
I
TV
know.
show, TV magic. But I thought that was so cool when I was little.
Oh no, it's like the whole arcade game theme was just so prevalent right then. Because wasn't there like also a Nickelodeon show where the actors from certain shows would come on and they would be in a video game scenario? It was like a side scroller. Oh, what was the name of that? Nick Game, Nick Arcade.
Oh gosh, I don't remember. You're going back
This
further
might be
than I
before your
can.
time, young man.
The first thing that I remember seeing on Nickelodeon was I think you can't do that on television. Was the first thing I remember watching.
I think that might have been one of the earliest ones. Oh no, it was a game show. I just remember there was this one episode that had Budnick from Salute Your Shorts, and he was doing this weird side scroller thing, and they're like, "You got to duck. All right, now jump. All right, keep walking."
This is why we need a fact checker. We need a David G listening at all times to just send us an email later and say, so I listened to the episode and here are your corrections, and we'll just retract the statements.
David, we need you now. Need you more than ever.
Let's move on to Roundhouse. One of your favorite shows, actually, at the time, and may still be to this day. I don't know. It's an American comedy variety television series that aired on Nickelodeon from 1992 through 1994. The series was recorded before a live audience on a minimal set and incorporated sketch comedy, dance sequences, and musical performances. It debuted as part of the original SNICK lineup on Nickelodeon in 1992 and continued airing on the network through the end of 1995. All I remember, and I told you this earlier, so I'm curious to know what you remember. All I remember is the recliner that the one guy sat in that would move around on. He could spin it in circles, and he could drive it around like a scooter on the stage. That's all I remember.
No, I remember this show a lot. I don't expect me to give any large details because it really was just kind of like, the way I described it initially was the short-lived live sitcom. Where it's just a bunch of actors almost seeming like they're improvising because it had that very raw live feel. But in the retrospect, it looked like about the size of a gymnasium for the stage. And, they had the mom character, what was it? The Any family is what I looked it up as. And you had the mom, the dad, the son, the daughter, and all these weird little casting characters. And it was obviously people in their early 20s and maybe even late teens in some cases playing these characters. But like you said, like the dad character never left this recliner that seemed motorized and was floating around on this platform. And that amazed me when I was a kid. You were sitting there watching that and it's like, I would never have to get up. I could always be lounging.
You're right. Even when they did I remember this, the dance number at the end, he would just go around the stage on the recliner and spin around in circles and stuff.
Yeah, and I remember like the thing that really hooked me is during one of their Nickelodeon giveaways, they were going to give away the Roundhouse recliner.
I recall.
Because I sent off like 5 3x5 cards for that. Like, send out your 3x5 cards and get the recliner. And it just shows that thing revving up like.
Makes me wonder if anyone won or if it was one of those.
Oh, just rope-a-dope giveaways.
Mm-hmm.
I could have
tried to pull the wool over our eyes kind of situations.
I just remember like the recliner, every once in a while the side accoutrement would change. Where at one time it was a television with a remote control and it's like, that's mine. And another time it was a grill and it's like, the grill seems nice too.
I would want the TV. I would really want the TV. That would be super cool, especially for the 90s.
But I remember it was always about like the son or daughter character going through some kind of a turmoil at school, like bullying or moving to a different school or something. And, everybody's messing with them. They come together. But the singing and dancing, like, I wasn't super big into that when I was like, I guess 9. But I don't know. It was weird. It was like a fever dream you might have after a week of theater theater camp, and binging in living color to try to recover from the fever. It's, no, it's just like that great live feel that they had, but it was also kind of like PG. So I was like, I don't know. This is like what they would show you on a Wednesday night at youth group at church.
Yeah, it wasn't really. I mean, it didn't go out there too far.
I wasn't pushing the boundaries, but
No,
it
but it
had
was
some good fart
Nickelodeon,
and
so
toilet humor. So it kind of appealed to the 9-year-old me.
that's true. That's true. So speaking of toilet humor, the next show on the list, which is one that I know that we both loved, was the Ren and Stimpy show, commonly referred to simply as Ren and Stimpy. It's an American comedy animated television series created by, I'm not going to say that name.
John Crickfalusi, I believe.
Thank you. Yeah. John, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, but John K. Like everybody kind of referred to it as John K.
Okay, well, it was created by John Kay, and it was developed by John Kay at Bob Camp, Jim Smith, and Lynn Naylor for Nickelodeon. Originally produced by Spumco. The series aired on Nickelodeon from August 11th, 1991 to December 16th, 1995. The series follows the misadventures of Ren, an emotionally unstable and psychotic Chihuahua dog. Nate knows this, much like my dog Rosie.
Yes,
and Stimpy, a good-natured and dim-witted Manx cat. It is the third cartoon to be aired of the original 3 Nickelodeon animated series known as Nicktoons, alongside Doug and Rugrats. So Doug, Rugrats, the Ren and Stimpy show, the Nickelodeon animated series trifecta.
God, that is such a weird lineup. Because Ren and Stimpy was like the childhood introduction to perversity.
I was not allowed to watch Ren and Stimpy for the first few seasons, and you were.
I had to leave the room whenever it came on. I was like, sorry, Michael.
Yep.
Well, it's one of those things where you didn't get it at the time. Because for the most part, it went over most kids' heads.
Yeah.
Like all the innuendo and subtle undertones. And in retrospect, with a parental eye, it's like, oof. That might have messed me up if I got that.
Yeah, a parent obviously would understand every bit of the innuendo and the humor, but of course they think, oh, this is not appropriate for you to watch because you're understanding everything. Like you said, we were not understanding anything other than it was 2 silly characters that would get themselves into really ridiculous situations a lot of times, and it was just funny to watch them try to get themselves out of these situations they got into.
And the animation was gorgeous. I mean,
it was.
I never saw anything like that before, and really, aside from future John K. productions, haven't seen it since. It's very signature.
It had come off shows like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where everything was a darker color.
That's true. It was like really had the Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles, like all those 80s shows leading up to it, and some of them had the Dayglow color scheme.
Mm-hmm.
But God, Ren and Stimpy popped in all the right ways.
It did. It really did.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like what really got me, like not even just like the crazy storylines, like some were so madcap, like the Wiener Barons episode where they're going to go up to Canada to strike it rich in the wiener business. Or even but it's like the weird stuff in between, like the bumps, I guess you would call them, where it's like the Powdered Toast Man commercials and, what was it? The Yak Shaving Day.
Yeah. Yak
that
Shaving.
Weird stuff. And of course, like any 90s kid, if you start going, it's like, it's log. Everyone loves log. It's like, it's log, it's big, it's heavy, it's wood.
Am I misremembering, or did you not have a Ren and Stimpy video game for Game Boy?
No, it was for Super NES.
Okay, yeah.
No, I remember it was so difficult to little me because I got to the part where it's Ren dressed up like a mouse and Stimpy's trying to catch him. And then the homeowners want him to eat the mouse played by Ren. And so you're playing as the character of Ren dressed like Mickey Mouse overtly, to avoid a lawsuit. But you're fighting Stimpy's tongue. and it was just so difficult, and I could not figure it out. And it might be one of the first games I just threw away and walked away from. Like, it's stupid. Why is it so hard?
I think I had a vague memory of Ren and Stimpy, the video game. And what I remembered was, and I'm pretty sure we were on the way to Fantasy of Trees. We were in the back of the Taurus that you guys had at the time. And I remember you playing that game, I'm pretty sure. It was either that or there was a magazine that had Ren and Stimpy on it. But that's a memory that just got unlocked in my head. Okay, anyway.
I like to believe it because, I mean, Ren and Stimpy was like one of the first shows I really recognized besides like the Saturday morning cartoons that had like comic books. I had the whole slew of Ren and Stimpy comic books. And then they had like the farting dolls, the VHS tapes. Like, it was, as far as I'm concerned, the bust out merch Nicktoon. Because even my sister had like Ren and Stimpy dolls that you squeeze them and they fart. Like a whoopee cushion. I don't know. It's like all the cool stuff. And it went right along with the, I think every Nickelodeon magazine had at least some kind of a run about Ren and Stimpy.
I know that, yeah, you had the Nickelodeon magazine. You had, yeah, you were, and I always say you were the epitome. That's even Braden has used these words. You were the epitome of a 90s kid because you were always the one who found, probably because you were older, but you were always the one that found things first. Like, this is the Nickelodeon magazine. Oh, you didn't know it exists? Yeah, it's super cool. This is like my third magazine or my third one I've gotten.
I was a young man with his thumb on the pulse of society. It's like, oh yes, I keep up with old, and I got my Disney Adventure today. I know all the lineup that's coming on Disney Channel this month. Okay. Oh, you know that Nickelodeon's producing boom boxes now? Oh, it must suck to be so pedestrian.
Oh, the merch. All the merch. Yeah. You got the alarm clock first. I think you still have it. Then I got it.
I totally have it.
There was something else. There was a Nickelodeon phone we both had.
Yep. And then they had the little Walkman, the Nickelodeon version of the Walkman that had the louder, loudest setting on it.
Yep, I think I had that as well. I think I had that as well.
Because of stuff like that. But no, I was like, I remember they had just a whole sheet of different kinds of merch you can get. They had the Nickelodeon brand headphones, like a couple of different stereo systems.
Yeah.
And I even had like the little transistor radio. I think I still have that in my basement somewhere. But and the camera.
That's right. I never had the camera. I remember your Nickelodeon camera.
Yeah, because it took the pictures that were like quad. You can get like 4 little pictures on one single piece of film. It was a time to be alive.
Yep. Those were some cool things that we had back in the day. Speaking of cool things, submitted for approval of the Midnight Society, I'd like to discuss the next show on our list, which is Are You Afraid of the Dark? This is a children's horror anthology television series created by DJ McHale and Ned Candle. The original series aired on Nickelodeon from 1992 to 1996. The pilot episode aired respectively on YTV and Nickelodeon in 1990 and 1991. Each member of the Midnight Society from 1991 to 1996 has a distinct personality and a notable trend in their storytelling. Though not all of their stories have similar styles and plots, in many of the stories, each character carries a unique aspect that reflects the nature of the storyteller and what they find to be the most important to themselves. The themes of the stories usually revolve around a variety of paranormal phenomena, such as demons, ghosts, magic, haunted houses, magical curses, aliens, witches, vampires, werewolves, and the like, coming into contact with average youths. This was probably my absolute favorite. So Clarissa would have been the first, and then Are You Afraid of the Dark was my second favorite SNICK show.
Oh no, it was everything I wanted a show to be when I was a kid. Scary as hell and readily available. Yeah, 90s kid nightmare fuel for years. But it really kind of shocks me, like in retrospect, that Mary and Albert would let you watch Are You Afraid of the Dark, but you couldn't watch Ren and Stimpy.
Well, they thought Ren and Stimpy. They thought I would pick up smart alecky sayings from Ren and Stimpy, but they apparently weren't that concerned with me having the living daylights terrified out of me.
They were afraid you were going to follow Braden around like, Braden, you idiots.
Yeah, kind of like, this kid who used to smack you in the back of the head and say, not the mama.
Right. That's a bad example. But I'm glad you brought up like how each one of the Midnight Society had their own distinct thing. Because I remember, like, Gary always had the magic stories, and Frank was the horror. Kiki had the supernatural. Betty Ann had like the mystical, like natural spiritualism kind of thing. And Tucker always had the pesky little brother stories.
Yes. And what's funny is I didn't really watch the reboot. And even though it is technically 90s, I don't know anything to say about the reboot. I watched it, but I don't remember it.
I tried, but I couldn't get into it as I did the other ones because I don't know. I hate to say it was a younger crowd and I didn't like it because I like Gary. Like Gary was the one that kept me coming back, and Gary's little brother Tucker didn't really keep me pulling.
No.
No guff on the actor. Yeah, it just didn't draw me in like the ones with Frank and I don't know. I wanted Dr. Vink stories and I wanted Sardo stories. No,
Dr.
Mr.
Vink.
Accent on the dough.
Fear Soup.
That was such a good episode.
That was
Campbell.
Nev Campbell. I was about to say Nev Campbell was in that. Yeah.
No, I was like, and another one of my favorite Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes is the one that has Melissa Joan Hart from Clarissa. The Frozen Ghost episode.
Ah, the one that Braden sent us that GIF a while back when the little boy says, "I'm cold."
I'm cold.
Yeah, that was, I forgot until you just reminded me, I guess.
Well, there's so many like really awesome cameos because I remember Budnick from Salute Your Shorts also guest starred on that in the Mummy episode. I don't know, just like so many different episodes with so many different fantastic themes. Like, because I remember one, it was the two-parter, Cutter's Treasure, I believe it was. I can't remember the name of the actor, but he's fantastic, and he played the pirate that was come back. He kidnapped the little brother. The big brother had to go and save him, and it had the Dr. Vink and Sardo in it. I was like, what a crossover! This is going to be insane. But some of those episodes, I mean, still to this day, the public pool episode where it's like there's a pool that was shut up in the basement of a school. They open it back up. Kids keep almost drowning.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end, they show this horrible, sludgy skeleton. It looks like the Tar Man from Return of the Living Dead. And that just creeped me out. And I still feel slightly uncomfortable getting into public pools now. It's not just the urine content. There's so many things, even to this day. Like a lot of the Betty Ann stories about people going into the woods and meeting some spirit that doesn't want to let them escape. Every time I take a walk in the woods, I think of crap like that. So some of these stories still stick with you decades later. Those episodes really lured you into a false sense of security towards the end just to kick the rug out from under you. I'm pretty sure I would not be into like Twilight Zone and all these crazy Outer Limits, get to the last moment to find out, oh, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of episodes like that where you get to the end, and you're like, oh, he made it, everything's safe, and oh no, he's trapped there, he's damned forever. And it really just kind of brought a harsh reality to your childhood, and the fact that was the end of your SNICK lineup almost left you with this sense of dread, like as you went to watch Dick Van Dyke reruns.
You were about to go to bed, and you're like, I'm gonna watch a couple of episodes on Nick at Night before I do that.
That was not closure at all. Thanks, Midnight Society.
Let's go to the summer of 1994 and the fall, because they have the same lineup, which is Clarissa Explains It All at 8 p.m. At 8:30, we have the introduction of a new show, which is The Adventures of Pete and Pete. Poor Braden, you're not here to talk about your favorite. The Ren and Stimpy show, of course, came on still at 9, and then at 9:30, you still had Are You Afraid of the Dark? So the only show that we're being introduced to now is The Adventures of Pete and Pete. It's an American coming-of-age sitcom created by Will McRobb and Chris Viscardi for Nickelodeon. It focuses on two brothers, both named Pete Wrigley, and their humorous and surreal adventures in suburbia among their equally eccentric friends, enemies, and neighbors. The Adventures of Pete and Pete began on Nickelodeon in 1989 as a 1 minute long, 30-second short. Because of the popularity of the shorts, 5 half-hour specials were made, followed by a regular half-hour series that ran for 3 seasons from 1993 to 1996. Jason Enke of AllMusic called the series the greatest children's show ever, while IGN called it one of the most well-written kid shows ever.
I can't really lie. That's pretty astute.
I had forgotten it started as a 1 minute or 1.5 minute short series, and it didn't actually become a show on Nickelodeon until 1993.
No, that's what's crazy because I have all the original Pete and Pete shorts, and I remember them being like almost commercials. Like they would show them next to Stickly bumps and things, like in between like series breaks.
Well, it's because of kids like us. We were probably sitting there at the time watching something else that probably popped up, and we were probably like, "What's that show? I want to watch that show." And I'm sure we weren't alone. And the network found that out and said, "We need to turn this into a regular series."
And what a series it was. And I didn't even
It
realize
was.
until I started like looking up names and stuff that the first 5 episodes were just sporadic. It's like every couple of months they would just give us like a special. I just remember like initially I wasn't really tickled because the first one was like the first special was the Valentine's special. And it was Big Pete, trying to fight his nemesis Open Face, who was trying to steal his girlfriend, but not girlfriend Ellen.
Oh yeah.
I was not tickled with the Valentine's special, but then they came out with the summer vacation special months later, and I was like, this is so cool because they were trying to find Mr. Tasty, and they were like going to the beach and having all these weird adventures over the course of a summer. But that's what I loved about Pete and Pete. It was like a semi-surreal Rockwellian Americana for 90s kids. Looking back on it, it seemed unusual, but at the time it made sense because, to a kid, everything is unusual and strange anyways. So it's just like, well, crap, I guess this is just what life is like.
Yeah, after I rewatched the Halloweeny episode, which was, and I'm going to admit, that was the first time I'd watched Pete and Pete since the early 90s. Yeah, it was. And like I said, when I first watched it, I even texted you and Braden, and I was basically like, you guys were bragging about it, and I was basically like, I didn't think it was that great, so we'll talk about it. But then I was like, I'm going to watch it again. The second time, I was like, I'm going to pay close attention to it, and I got sucked in right at the intro. So now I am looking forward to watching more Pete and Pete episodes. The only reason why I have stopped myself from doing so is because I don't know what Braden's going to throw at us for what episodes he wants to watch. So I want to keep it. I don't want to watch it now and then rewatch it later and not be able to have the same feeling that I watched the first time, because that's when I usually get my best notes for our podcast.
You want that tickle of nostalgia to be a fresh tickle, you know?
Exactly. And it pulls you in so much because the first time you watch it, at least for me, when I was rewatching Halloweeny, I was like, I remember this. I remember this. Like it was slowly all coming back. And then I was like, okay, that joke's funny because Nona's dad is an idiot. And that joke is funny because their mom has a plate in her head. And it's like, okay, I remember the setup of the series. So yeah, it became more funny to me over time.
I know all the strange little like notes and stuff like mom's plate. You got Artie, the strongest man in the world. There's just this superhero that runs around and helps the little brother who has a tattoo on his forearm.
Petunia
the tattoo. I just love this little kid looking down. I was like, do the dance for me, baby. Yes. I don't know. It was so strange and yet just so, I don't want to say believable because it was so outlandishly and unbelievable at the same time.
Yeah.
But it really was like a TGIF show for kids, like on LSD. But it's weird though, because I can still go back and watch that and just be amazed at all the cameos. Because like looking back and seeing even in a single episode about teachers, I think it was the one where Ellen questions why.
Mm-hmm.
Ellen's dad played by Steve Buscemi. And then there's other teachers in there like Janine Garofalo. And like you said, Nona's dad played by Iggy Pop, Michael Stipe in the Vacation episode, and that's just like older people that parents might get. Then they had like Larissa Olenek and so many people just popping up for an oddball kids show. I don't know how in the hell that worked.
Well, speaking of Larissa Olenek, she's actually the next show that we have to talk about because we already covered summer and fall. But if you go to January 1995, we don't have Clarissa Explains It All anymore. But we were given The Secret World of Alex Mack.
Which I don't know how to feel about that.
Oh,
I
gosh.
love Alex Mack. It was awesome, but It was
Well, just in
Clarissa.
I know, but just in case no one's familiar, Alex Mack, it was an American television series that aired on Nickelodeon from October 8th, 1994 to January 15th, 1998. This series was co-created by Ken Littman and Thomas W. Lynch and was produced by Lynch Entertainment, Hallmark Entertainment, and Nickelodeon Productions. Alexandra Alex Mack is an ordinary teenage girl living with her parents, George and Barbara, and precocious older sister Annie in the industrial town of Paradise Valley, Arizona. The town is largely funded around Paradise Valley Chemical, a chemical factory that employs most of the adult residents, although the factory's staff and history are notoriously shady. While walking home after her first day of junior high school, Alex is nearly hit by a truck from Paradise Valley Chemical, and during the incident, she is accidentally drenched with GC 161, an experimental substance developed by the factory. Soon she discovers that GC 161 has given her strange powers, including telekinesis, the ability to shoot electricity from her fingers, and the ability to dissolve into a mobile puddle of water. What's not to love about Alex Mack? Come on.
Oh no, I absolutely adore Alex Mack. I had such a crush on Larissa Oleynik. And I don't know, it was kind of relatable in a kind of ridiculous way because, here's just this kid. I think she was like in middle school and just wanted to have a normal life. But then all of a sudden, a toxic waste truck was like, no.
What I hated about that show was that she felt like she was out of place anyway, and she wanted to be kind of accepted by her peers, and then she gets all these really cool abilities, and then her older sister is like, you can't use not one single one of those in front of your peers.
Oh no, Annie was such a buzzkill. It's like,
And
come
then
on.
of course her best friend Ray finds out, and I think that Ray is the only person that knows. She gets other friends as the show progresses, I remember, but I think Ray's the only one who knows about her powers.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I know that I can't remember like what the woman was. It the woman over Paradise Valley? Was it Anton or
Danielle Atron.
Atron? That was it. Miss Atron and her pet tool
Vince, and then
Like
the
they were aware.
driver.
I can't remember.
I
Like I
want to
said, I'm
say,
stretching just to get Vince and Miss Atron, but no, it's like they were aware that Alex had powers and that she was somewhere in the town, but
yeah.
they couldn't quite get their thumb on top of her. But I don't know. It seemed like so many times I just wish I could reach through the screen and just give Alex a hug. And it's like, it's okay. I know. And you're super freaking cool.
I actually started watching The Secret World of Alex Mack again. I started watching the first couple of episodes of it. And the first few episodes, and I think this was the theme for the entire first season, it's nothing but Daniel Atron and Vince and that driver who I can't remember his name.
It's like
But
driver number 3.
yeah, they're chasing her the entire first season. I think that is the entire premise of the first season. And I think it's not till season 2 that you just see Alex get to play with her powers a little more, and the storyline sort of central more around her and her family dynamics rather than the plant trying to find her.
It's weird. It kind of has that like Sabrina-esque flavor where you got this really awesome girl with really awesome powers, but in no way, shape, or form can she use them without burned at the stake or dissected in a petri dish.
One last thing I'll say about Alex Mack that I found out recently while I was doing research for SNICK, which was actually a while back. We've been sitting on this episode for a while, but when Alex Mack was originally conceived, instead of having an older sister, she was going to have a younger sister, but the younger sister was going to be as smart as Annie. Like she was going to be just like her parents and be really smart and be scientists. And she was going to be the one helping Alex. And it was like last minute they changed it to have an older sister. I'm glad they did that because the original theme they were coming up with the younger sister who is just a genius sounds like something they would do on Nickelodeon now. And a lot of the Nickelodeon content now that I've seen, which I am an adult watching it through adult eyes, but it sucks.
I hate to think that we just aged out of being able to enjoy Nickelodeon, but I'm going to be right there with you and say it sucks.
I mean, if I see Rugrats come on TV, I'm going to watch a Rugrats episode, Rocko's Modern Life, Ren and Stimpy. Hey, Arnold, even I'd watch an episode. But the stuff they have on now, I'm like, no.
I think if I'm cooking dinner and Doug comes on, I'll turn off the oven and go watch.
Doug is a good one. until ABC took it in the later 90s and put it on ABC Saturday morning and changed the voice of all the characters. I did not like that.
And then you had Doug the movie where he's making friends with nematodes, and yeah, Disney really kind of ruined that property.
All right, so we just covered Secret World of Alex Mack. Another fun fact that many people do not know, if my stepmom is listening or my younger sister is listening, your name could have been Alexandra because we fought really, really hard for that. And Braden said we fought really hard to name you after the Pink Ranger too, but I forgot about that.
See, I don't remember that one. That's because
So
I feel like
yeah,
I would have been on top of no, her name should be Kimberly. Like
I remember
real hard in 1995.
Jennifer shooting that down real quick because she said Braden's middle name is Alexandra. I'm not naming her Alexandra, and we were like, okay. Anyway, so after the Secret World of Alex Mack, the only new show that we have is All That. So All That is an American sketch comedy children television series created by Brian Robbins and Mike Tollin. This series originally aired on Nickelodeon from August 16th, 1994 to October 22nd, 2005, lasting 10 seasons. The series features original short comedic sketches and weekly musical guests aimed towards a young audience. Its sketches parody popular culture and are performed by a large and varying cast of child and teen actors. The show launched the start of long-term careers for some of the young actors, most notably Kenan Thompson, Kel Mitchell, and Amanda Bynes, who were given spin-offs on all that with Kenan and Kel and the Amanda Show. All That. We loved that show.
Oh, we did. And I also feel that Lori Beth Denberg got quite a boost out of that as well.
That's true. That's
I think
true.
she went off to. Didn't she do the Steve Harvey show?
I know that All That was not where she stopped. That sounds right. I'm afraid to say anything now that I know.
I know she broke off of Nickelodeon.
There are people who are listening to every word we say and are probably like, "Whoa, you're way off base with what you just said." I'm afraid to say for sure without looking up things now. Let's look up Miss Lori Beth Denberg real quick. Let's see.
I used to think she was one of the funniest people on that show, and
She
never
was
got enough
hilarious.
credit for like the loud librarian. It was like, "Hey, this is a library. Stop talking!" And then she would like grab a chainsaw or something.
So yeah, you were correct. She was Lydia Liza Gutman on the Steve Harvey Show.
Yeah.
She's also known for her skits on SNL, like The Loud Librarian, Vital Information, which, oh gosh, if you were a 90s kid and you don't know what Vital Information was, I don't know where you were.
No, that was like the SNL news show for younger kids.
That's how I got my news. Denberg has also appeared in Malcolm in the Middle and the film Dodgeball, and we don't have to worry about our girl Lori Beth Denberg because she is a producer now. So
you go, girl.
Exactly. I have actually spoken with someone who was on All That, which was Katrina Johnson.
What?
Do you remember her? She, before Amanda Bynes was Lemonade Girl, she was the Lemonade Girl. Lemonade, get your lemonade.
I was thinking the other day, I was like, I don't remember seeing her in many other things after All That.
She is now a private flight attendant. So you can you can get her services if you are like on a private flight or something, and she runs Uncensored Radio, which is a podcast that she does.
That's epic.
She's pretty cool, actually. So spoiler alert, she's one of the people that I'm trying to get to come on here, and I did reach out to Jeffrey Emmett. Yeah, I'm calling you out if you're out there, because that is the friend that I actually met that introduced me to her. And he is on her show. He's on the show as a host. So I reached out to him and I've not heard anything. And Jeffrey, if you want to come on, you're welcome to come on too.
But yeah, it's a safe place. Join us.
But yeah, hoping that she'll come on here.
All That, it really had a lot of stuff that just kicked off. Because like you said earlier, it kicked off the careers of Kenan and Kel. Both two that are still working in the entertainment industry today.
I think Kenan's been on the SNL for about 10 years now.
No, and I love him on there.
I do too.
Like he is still rocking it hard.
I do too.
But it's like he had some of the best sketches. Like both of them did. Like kicked off Good Burger, which I know got a movie a couple of years ago, on top of the one that I still watch from our childhood.
Oh yeah, I forgot I got a sequel.
Oh yeah, it's like, and every time Kel says it, it's like, Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order? Even my kids say that, and it makes me it swells my heart with joy.
I remember the line from the movie. Someone tells him, "You need to watch your butt," and he spins around in a circle. He's like, "I can't do that, or that's impossible."
Like, give me a good burger. I can't give you a good burger. You gotta buy it.
You gotta pay for it.
But no, I was like, and then you had like a super dude, which used to crack me up when I was a kid because it's like a superhero, completely invincible. His arch nemesis is the milkman because he's lactose intolerant.
And I remember one skit that we always used to laugh. I mean, we would horse laugh to, was when Amanda would give advice, and she would come to the edge, she'd be like, "Come here,
Ask Ashley."
I think so, yes. And she's like, "Come here, come closer, closer." And she would smack the camera, and the camera would fly like you would actually like you got hit, and we would horse laugh over no matter what it was she said. Like that was one of the funniest skits, I think.
No, it's just like,
I remember.
"Dear Ashley, I tried to make a tray of ice the other day, but when I put the tray in there and watched it, it never froze. Come here, come here, come here. A little closer, a little closer. Close the freaking door." There's just something on that level of ridiculous.
And then I remember, oh gosh, what was his name? He played the big eared guy. I remember that in school. Remember he had big ears and people would pick on Josh Server. Josh Server. I had to Google it, but Josh.
He was one of my favorites. Was Josh Server?
Same. And what's funny is Katrina Johnson was one of my favorites on the show, and I'm not just saying that because I know her, but she was one of my favorites growing up. And I always wondered what happened to her after season 3 and why she just was no longer on the show.
Sad.
Yeah,
it's weird because I remember all that getting a lot of switching out of cast members, because after a certain point, even little Pete Wrigley, Mr. Danny Tamborelli himself, became a regular cast member on all that.
That is true. He was probably a teenager by that time, right?
It's like, yeah, I think like they'd already axed Pete and Pete. He was way out of playing the kid brother, and they're like, all right, well, let's put him on all that and see what he can do. And I tell you, he fit well. All
that was one of my favorite, or one of our favorite You Can't Miss shows.
I mean, it really was our generation's SNL.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah,
the whole skit comedy thing.
We have reached 97. I mean, we're up to 9. We're right here to start 97 next time.
Okay, do you want to pause here?
If and you want to.
Okie dokie.
Okay, guys, if you have enjoyed this episode, or if you would like to correct us on any of our misinformation, we would love to hear from you. And our email address is the 90s Rewind Report at gmail.com. Shout out again to David G, and thank you for that first email. We have printed copies of that, and I'm seriously going to frame mine probably. Got some really cool stuff coming up. Hopefully, like I said, we're going to have Braden back soon, and Nathan, if you do not have a way to end the show, that's fine. But do you have a way you would like to end this episode?
Oh, let me see if I can get this.
Bye, 90s boys and girls. We sure had fun talking about your childhood today. And be sure to leave us a comment on any shows we made you beg for stay up past your bedtimes. Or maybe we can touch on them next time. Bye, nostalgians.
It sounded like you broke out from Pee Wee to Kermit for a second, but that was great.
I kind of did.